Our story kicks off with our hero, Sony, a guy who lives for the thrill of driving and racing. He's behind the wheel in a high-stakes car racing game, totally in his element. Sony's all about winning for his team, and he'll push himself to the limit to make it happen. During the race, other drivers try to block him, but Sony's too sharp. He weaves past them with grit and skill. Only one rival remains, and it's a fierce showdown. Sony doesn't back down, he nudges his opponent's car and surges ahead. Round after round, he racks up points for his team, driving with heart and precision. Thanks to Sony's talent, his team clinches the victory. But fame? That's not his thing. He loves the drive, not the spotlight. So when the trophy's offered, he waves it off, says goodbye to his friends with a grin, and heads out. Sony ends up at a laundry shop where his eyes catch a poster on the wall. It's advertising a big race in Mexico's desert, calling for a skilled driver. He reads it carefully, but shrugs and moves on, not giving it much thought. Just then, an old friend, a race manager, spots him. They haven't seen each other in years, and the manager's thrilled to reconnect. He gets straight to the point. "Sony, I've got a Formula One team, but we're struggling. We can't even crack the top 10. I know you used to race Formula One. You were incredible. I need you to drive for us, to save my team from falling apart. Please help me out." Sony pauses, then says, "All right, I'll think about it." The manager's hopeful, but Sony's not one to rush into things. Meanwhile, we meet JP, another driver on the same team, racing a single-seater car in an African event. A young woman, the team's car designer, approaches JP. "Any issues with the car?" she asks, ready to fix whatever's wrong. JP sighs, "Yeah, tons of problems." She dives in, inspecting the car to redesign and improve it for the next race. When Sony arrives, the team's reaction is mixed. Some are shocked to see him, others don't know who he is. But the race manager's eyes light up. He's banking on Sony to turn things around. Sony greets everyone warmly and slides into the driver's seat of a sleek, modern race car. It's different from the older cars he's used to, but he handles it like a pro. He studies the track maps, practices hard, and gets a feel for the car. During a test run, though, disaster strikes. The car crashes. It's not totaled, but Sony spots the issue. This thing doesn't turn well at high speed. It just slams into stuff. The car designer nods, promising to fix it. Later, JP visits his mom, looking defeated. He tells her, "My team's a mess. We're not winning, and now there's this new driver, Sony, who's good. Maybe too good. He's competition, and I'm struggling." His mom's voice is calm but firm. "Don't stress, JP. Focus on your driving. The race is coming up soon." Like most teams, this one has two drivers, JP, the number one driver, and Sony, the number two driver. Both are key to the team's success. At a press conference, things get tense. JP calls Sony old, trying to rattle him, but Sony brushes it off, cool as ever. Then the reporters dig into Sony's past, bringing up a bad accident from years ago that kept him out of racing for 30 years. The questions sting, and Sony walks out, spending the night haunted by memories of that crash that left him badly injured and forced him to quit racing. The next morning, JP finds Sony and apologizes. "I shouldn't have called you old. I feel awful." Sony, unbothered, just keeps practicing, lost in his own world, focused on the track. A big race weekend arrives, spanning 3 days. Friday is a practice race, Saturday is for qualifying, where the fastest driver's car is parked up front and the slowest is at the back, and Sunday is the championship race, where every team fights to be number one. The race manager introduces Sony to an investor, one of the few still backing the team. The investor's optimistic. "I see potential in your team. I'm sticking with you because I believe you'll make it big." Sony nods, appreciating the support. When the race begins, Sony's car starts dead last. The drivers charge forward, battling to take the lead. Each team has one driver pushing to get ahead and another playing defense to block rivals. JP's tires overheat, forcing a pit stop to swap them out. Sony too needs parts replaced, and both lose precious seconds. Every millisecond counts in racing. At one point, both drivers are near the front, but things go south. Instead of focusing on the other teams, Sony and JP start racing each other, refusing to let the other pass. It's a risky move and it backfires. Their cars collide and veer off the track, knocking them both out of the race. JP's furious, yelling at Sony, "Why'd you race me? I'm the number 1 driver. You were supposed to let me through." They argue heatedly, and JP's got a point. Sony, as the number 2 driver, should have backed off. The team owners chime in, scolding Sony. "We need teamwork and coordination to win. You broke the rules." Sony feels awful and retreats to the garage, cooling off in a tub of cold water. The race manager storms in, clearly upset. "You shouldn't have done that, Sony. You wrecked the car, and now you're stirring up trouble with my driver. I could lose everything." Sony stays calm. "Don't worry," he says. "JP's got talent, but he's got a lot to learn. Oh, and by the way, your car designer, she's great. Is she single?" The manager laughs, shaking his head. "Come on, man, focus. No nonsense here, all right?" He walks off, and Sony chuckles. Later, Sony finds the car designer working on the car's parts. He says, "I need to talk to you," inviting her to a coffee shop. Over coffee, she's curious. "What's this about?" Sony gets serious. "You need to redesign the car." She bristles. "Why? I don't make changes without the team's input. And everyone's talking about you. Why'd you come back to Formula One?" Sony tries to explain, but she cuts him off. "Finish the race first, then we'll talk." With that, she leaves. Both drivers prep for the next race in their own ways, each with their own strategy. The team holds a meeting to plan how to win. This race will have 52 laps, 52 loops around the track, and they need to come out on top by the final lap. When the race starts, Sony and JP drive with precision, tearing up the track. Sony pulls into the pits to change his tires, opting for soft ones. Soft tires boost speed but wear out fast, while hard tires last longer but are slower. It's a bold choice, and Sony's ready to push the car to its limits. The race is on, and the stakes are higher than ever. Despite the team owner's hesitation, Sony pleads to use soft tires, and they're fitted onto his car. He takes off, ready to race. With perfect teamwork and several laps of fierce driving, Sony and JP push their team into the top 10 in the first round of qualifying. Everyone's thrilled. This is a big deal. Landing in the top 10 means extra points, and for a team that's been struggling, it's a moment to celebrate. That night, Sony visits the car designer. She's excited to share that she's redesigned the car based on his ideas. Opening up, she says, "I've done this before. When I was married, I shared my designs with my husband, but he hated them. It broke our marriage. That's why I'm so driven to win this race." Sony nods, understanding her passion. The second qualifying race begins, and JP's still holding strong in the top 10. Sony plays defense, keeping rival cars at bay while JP pushes forward. Their hard work pays off. The team climbs to 4th place. But the race isn't over. JP's car surges to first, but disaster strikes on a sharp turn. His car flips, skids off the track, and bursts into flames. Sony, right behind him, leaps into action. He speeds over, puts out the fire, and pulls JP to safety. Later, JP's mom confronts Sony, furious. "You put my son's life at risk," she snaps. "You pushed him to drive too fast." Sony stays calm, knowing the truth. "I told him to slow down on that turn. He didn't listen." Still, he apologizes to her, wanting to keep the peace. The team gathers, worried they've fallen behind again. Sony's voice is steady. "We can still win. It's not over. With the right coordination, we can do this in 100 milliseconds. But JP's hand is injured, so he's out of the race. Sony steps up, racing alone and pushing the team to qualify in the top 9. Days later, JP recovers and rejoins, but old habits creep in. During the next race, they clash again. JP rams Sony's car, knocking him out of the race. Sony storms into the garage, furious. "JP, you can't keep doing this. You're only thinking of yourself, not the team. That's why we're losing." The car designer overhears their argument and steps in. She calls them both to a quiet spot and says, "You two need to stop fighting. If you keep competing with each other, the whole team suffers." To lighten the mood, she pulls out a deck of cards, and the three of them play, chatting about the race for hours. Later, JP's manager shows up, so he leaves. Now it's just Sony and the car designer. There's a spark between them, and they share a warm, easy moment together. At midnight, Sony's out on a balcony when she joins him. "She still don't get why you came back to racing," she says. Sony turns to her. "What about you? Why are you here?" She smiles. "I want to prove to everyone, especially my ex-husband, that I've got what it takes. But I need you to win this race for us." Sony opens up. "Years ago, I was on the verge of becoming a champion. Then a terrible accident broke my bones, injured my spine, and left me bedridden. My dreams were crushed, and I swore off racing. But I know I've still got it. That's why I'm back." Just then, the race manager interrupts, aware of their connection. He drops a bombshell. "The race organizers are coming to seize our cars. They think we've designed them illegally." Sony and the designer push back, insisting, "We've got all the paperwork. Everything's by the rules." The organizers demand to inspect the cars, threatening an investigation. In the end, the team's documents check out and the cars are safe. The third qualifying race takes place at night, and Sony drives with focus. But pushing the car too hard, he loses control, crashes, and gets badly hurt. He's rushed to the hospital. The race manager visits, worried. "You've been through this before, Sony. I didn't know about your past accident. I can't risk your life. You're done racing." Sony pleads, "Don't do this. You need me. I'll recover and make you win." But the manager is firm. "No, I'll find another driver," he says, walking away. Meanwhile, JP trains hard to keep the team's hopes alive. Fully recovered, Sony's about to leave when the team's investor approaches him. "I'm making a deal with a new team," he says. "Join me and leave this one behind." Sony thinks it over, saying, "I'll consider it," but doesn't commit. JP, meanwhile, visits his mom and admits, "The accident was my fault, not Sony's. He told me to slow down, but I didn't listen." His mom realizes her mistake in blaming Sony. Sunday arrives, the championship day. The investor is now with his new team, hoping Sony will join them. But Sony returns to his old team, determined. "Give me one more chance," he begs. "I'll make us win this time." The manager hesitates, worried about Sony's injuries. "I don't want to lose you," he says. Sony is resolute. "No one else can win this for us." The team agrees to take him back. Sony also knows the investor tipped off the organizers about the cars, trying to sabotage them. It stings the investor to see Sony stick with his team. The championship race begins, and Sony, as the number 2 driver, plays his role perfectly. He clears the path for JP, blocking rivals so JP can surge ahead. Their hard work pushes the team to first place, but the race is long. They swap tires during pit stops, and the team's position shifts, sometimes fourth, sometimes second. Sony keeps supporting JP. During a 28-minute break, Sony's car clips something, but he's unharmed. When the race resumes, Sony tells JP, "Stay behind me this time." JP listens, and their cars lead the pack. But JP's car collides with the rivals and spins out, ending his race. Sony, right behind him, drives like he did 30 years ago, fearless, like he's flying. He pulls ahead, leaving competitors far behind, and crosses the finish line first. The team wins the championship, a first for a squad that could barely crack the top 10. The victory is huge, and the team's joy is unstoppable. But Sony, he's not chasing trophies. He slips away from the cheering crowd and sits quietly in a corner. The car designer searches for him, finally finding him at their usual meeting spot. She's beaming. "Sony, we did it," she says. He smiles softly. "I want to tell you how I feel, but in my own way. I'll see you again soon." With a warm goodbye, he leaves. Later, Sony heads to Mexico's desert where a race is being held. He approaches a man organizing it. "I heard you need a driver," Sony says.
The man raises an eyebrow. Ever driven before? Sony laughs. Nope, but I'm the best driver you'll ever meet. The man nods, impressed, and picks Sony for the race. With his passion for driving burning brighter than ever, Sony's ready to race, win, and make his mark. And so our story wraps up with Sony chasing what he loves most of all, racing, full speed ahead.